Welcome to the presentation on transition planning for students with exceptionalities. As an educator, do you know what has been put into place for your students with exceptionalities who graduate and go on to continue into post-secondary education? Are you equipped with the knowledge to advise and mentor them on what to expect after graduating high school? So what is transition exactly? Transition is the process of students moving from one program to another, or more officially from school into adulthood. Individuals go through many transitions throughout their life and can include beginning preschool or kindergarten, leaving elementary school and entering middle school. For students with exceptionalities, to transition from school to young adulthood is one of the most critical transitions that they will experience. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act has the primary purpose of ensuring that all children with disabilities are guaranteed a free and appropriate public education while receiving service and supports that they need to meet their unique individual needs in preparation for post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. IDEA addresses transition services for students with exceptionalities in Section 300.43 to facilitate the child's movement from school to post-school activities such as post-secondary education, vocational education, integrated employment, continuing and adult education, adult services, independent living, and community participation. Transition is based on the child's individual needs and can include instruction, related services, community experiences, living objectives, and acquisition of daily living skills. The Individualized Education Program, known as an IEP, includes a section that outlines the transition plan for high school students. The transition plan includes goals and services that are required based on the student's individual needs, strengths, skills, and interests. While IDEA mandates transition plans for students with exceptionalities until the age of 21, the Americans with Disabilities Act takes over for students once they enter college or employment. Students with exceptionalities in college are no longer provided with an IEP. The Americans with Disabilities Act ensures that individuals are not denied access to services solely based on a disability. It is left up to the student to inform the college or employer of their disability while providing appropriate documentation. While transition planning is mandated by IDEA, you may be asking, why is it important? All students need a little guidance to make the transition to the next step after high school, but students with exceptionalities often need a little more help. Transition planning ensures that these students will be able to function as adults in the real world by helping them pursue post-secondary education and employment by personalizing a plan based on their strengths, needs, and desires. Educators and school leadership can help students with exceptionalities on their transition plan through the use of best practices. Best practices are essentially those practices that work and are usually supported by research. Post-secondary education is one of the most important post-school goals, and research has shown that it is the primary goal for most students with disabilities. If a student with exceptionalities is planning to attend college, there are a number of best practices that can be used to prepare them to transition into college. Student-focused planning is the participation of students in their own educational planning based on their post-secondary goals. The student is encouraged to take courses that interest or challenge them to prepare for college. Having been involved in school or community-based activities can help them to determine career interest, possibly through work-based learning or internship opportunities. The student can meet with guidance counselors to discuss career goals, educational goals, programs of study, college requirements, admission processes, and any testing required for college admission. In today's world, most high school students are at least a little stressed by the prospect of finding and keeping a job. For students with disabilities, that process can come with additional challenges, but there are some best practices that can assist these students. Healthy students identify what their career goals are by asking them, talking to the family, incorporating talk about different careers into class, by giving them opportunities to choose topics that interest them, by inviting local employers to talk in class, or periodically have field trips to give opportunities to see various jobs. Teach effective strategies and skills for job searching through creating a task analysis, learning the job search process through the perspective of employers, connecting students with local resources, and creating groups for students to learn from their peers. Teach on-the-job skills through task analysis, exploring modifications that can be implemented for the various disabilities, through providing direct support and gradually fading it as students learn to self-manage. Explore local transportation options that a student can utilize, and teach communication and social skills. Collaborate with families by giving them clear and accurate information and resources such as the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment, and ensure they are aware of their child's rights. Encourage families to let students help around the house to learn some responsibility. Most individuals want to live their life independently in the way that they want to, but the reality is that often students with disabilities are unable to transition to independent living without some assistance or modifications. To help transition students to independent living, there are several practices that can be used. Include the student in the planning process while viewing them as an individual and not a disability. Use everyday language with them. Address students' social and emotional needs through creating opportunities through the use of role play based on workplace, community, and post-secondary education. Participating in social and emotional learning programs and promoting a positive school climate. Provide the student with support to make their own decisions. Self-determination and self-advocacy is having the ability to steer one's life in a direction that is satisfying through being equipped with skills, attitudes, and opportunities while advocating for themselves. This can be done through teaching choice-making skills to allow for teaching control and responsibility, teaching decision-making skills to allow students to consider all alternatives, consequences, and what is the best for themselves. Teaching problem-solving skills for students to work through independence while solving personal and community-based problems. Teaching goal setting and attainment skills to help students learn how to identify something to work towards and the process to get there. Teaching self-management, self-regulation, self-awareness, and self-knowledge. All students need to learn to develop healthy relationships with friends, family, educators, and the community. Unfortunately, students can find themselves in unhealthy relationships, and students with disabilities have an even harder time to recognize what is healthy versus unhealthy. To help them develop skills to determine the difference, it is effective to start teaching students early about what makes a relationship either healthy or unhealthy. Universal Design for Learning is a framework that utilizes instruction materials and content that reaches all students regardless of their learning style. Universal Design can be utilized in transition planning for students with exceptionalities through the general education classroom to allow for information to be received. While students with disabilities are having their needs targeted through Universal Design, all of the students in the class will benefit from the instruction, especially when it comes to preparing for college, work, and community.